Doc lands outside Hilldale and says he and Einstein will go get Jennifer. You may wonder what Einstein can do in this situation. It's actually a holdover from an earlier version of the script, where Doc used Einstein as like a bloodhound. It also takes the dog out of the picture for when Biff gets in the car. Marty wants to come along so he could check out his future house, so Doc promptly knocks him out and... no, he just tells him not to? Huh. After a bit of waiting, Marty wanders off to examine a hovering dog walking machine.
He's an idiot.
And Biff slips into the car with the almanac and flies off. Jennifer sneaks around the house to spy on her future family. In this way, she acts as an everyman proxy for the audience to catch glimpses of the family. She still doesn't have much of a character, though. The family scenes are more or less just an excuse to show off the special effect of having Michael J. Fox play 3 roles in the same shot. Old Marty gets a call from his colleague Needles. Needles is kind of the adult equivalent of Griff to Marty Jr. He's a slimeball who tries to get Old Marty to agree to some kind of illegal transaction. Old Marty says no, until Needles calls him a chicken, and then he dives in head first. You know, there really has to be some kind of limit on this chicken thing. Otherwise you could get him to do anything. Hey Marty, give me your house and all your money. No? Chicken. No one calls me chicken. Here, take it all. Marty's boss, Fujitsu, then calls to yell that he's fired, and sends "You're fired" messages to all of the dot matrix fax machines located around the house. Jennifer grabs one. Not that she'll do anything with it. I should probably say something about the Japanese stuff. In the 1980s, the Japanese economy started to do very well, to the point that the United States started to feel threatened. Everyone was thinking that Japan would soon lead the world's economy. Part 2 assumes that Japan would achieve this by 2015, leading Marty to have a Japanese boss, and we can see a Japanese cultural influence on the American culture, such as the inclusion of presumably Japanese-American Whitey in Griff's gang, and his pants and his hoverboard. While this presumption of Japanese dominance led to a lot of xenophobic depictions in the 1980s, I honestly don't see any of that in Back to the Future. Only a reflection on how cultures change over several decades. Back to the Future Part 3 has the other end of this, in which it's commented on how Japan did very poorly in the 1950s.
No wonder this circuit failed. It says made in Japan.
What do you mean, Doc? All the best stuff is made in Japan.
Unbelievable.
Doc finds Jennifer at a window and tells her to meet him at the front door. She heads there, but old Jennifer comes in at the same time. They look at each other, scream, "I'm old," and "I'm young," and pass out. Now that Jennifer's role as an obstacle is over, she doesn't have to be awake for the rest of the movie. Zemeckis and Gale really did not want her in the film at all. Doc knocks her out before she can do anything, and then she becomes an obstacle to make an excuse to check out the McFly home and give Biff a chance to steal the time machine. Arguably, Marty being lured away is even more stupid on his part than normal, and a bit of a corruption of his character, but the mistreatment of Jennifer is inexcusable. Biff takes the time machine back. He's moaning and in a lot of pain. His walking stick breaks. He barely stumbles out of the car. A deleted scene would show him vanish, indicating that his changes to the past would lead to his own death, making his older self be erased from existence, as Marty very narrowly was in the first film. They removed the scene because they thought it was too confusing, but I wish they left it in, as it both explains why he's in pain and adds a sense of dread. Doc and Marty carry Jennifer into the car. Doc says that he plans to destroy the time machine because it's just too dangerous, though he regrets not being able to visit the Old West, his favorite era.
Well, if you close your eyes and wish real hard.
Better that I devote myself to studying the other great mystery of the universe. Women.
Men finding women a great mystery is largely due to a lack of empathy. In part, this is socially generated, where men and women are raised separately and form different social connections. On the other hand, there's a lot of sexist thought that goes into viewing women as a mystery, such as viewing women as homogenous, and not separate people with their own likes and dislikes. The joke is another thing that asserts Part 2 is specifically for guys. No girls allowed. They travel back to 1985, but it's not their 1985. Due to the changes Biff made in the timeline, an alternate reality of 1985 was created. It's officially called 1985A, but this doesn't make any sense given that it is in fact the third version of 1985 seen in the series. I'm with a set of fans that prefer the name Hell Valley, because this is the evil reality. They sit down at Jennifer's house and lay her on the porch bench. In the morning she'll just wake up and assume it's all a dream. Because clearly she has no right to understand what's going on. Only Doc and Marty are time gods. And again, there's no understanding of the idea that it might not be safe for a young woman to sleep outside, even in the good 1985. Doc drops Marty off at home and promises that he'll destroy the time machine. Marty climbs into his window and terrifies a young black woman sleeping in his bed. Well, maybe not his bed. Her father chases him out with a bat. And all the time I'm just thinking, my mother has that exact Michael Jackson poster. I guess I should comment on race. There are fewer people of color in the film than in the previous, but the portrayal is generally better. Goldie Wilson's family stays around as a thematic element. As Marty emerges into 2015 Hill Valley, there are posters advertising Goldie's son's re-election as a mayor. So it seems like Hill Valley has fully embraced black leadership. Goldie Wilson's grandson appears as a car salesman on the animated billboard and talks about making ordinary cars fly. And that's a really fun idea, so he is surrounded with positivity. Back to the Future doesn't criticize commercialism like other 80s films, and it instead features it as a positive part of American culture. So Goldie's grandson as a salesman is positively contributing to that culture. Michael Jackson shows up a few times, first as an AI and then in these posters, and Marty will dance like him in part 3. So this adds to the theme of black people contributing positively to American culture. As for this family, they're the 1985 counterparts to the Peabody family in the first film, and are portrayed overall sympathetically. We understand that they have a right to be freaked out by this strange guy climbing into a girl's bedroom at night. They feel more like real people than the goofy Peabody family. At the same time, the dad kind of fulfills the scary black man trope, so it's a bit of a mixed bag. I feel like the reason they're included is contrast. Of all the things we expect Marty to find in his room, a screaming black girl isn't one of them. For the simplistic characters they're decent enough. Marty wanders through wrecks and destruction that indicate constant violence and lawlessness. He looks at a newspaper to check the date and confirms that it is in fact the right year. Strickland, as a violent criminal, then threatens him with a shotgun. Marty tries to get him to recognize him, but Strickland doesn't know him. He then threatens his testicles to scare him off the porch. Jeez, what's up with abusing people's balls in this movie? It's kind of a big macho contest where guys need to show that they're sufficiently manly by protecting their sexual organs. They duck from a drive-by shooting, and Strickland runs after them. Marty heads to the courtyard, where the courthouse has been replaced with a Vegas-style hotel casino named after Biff. Biff actually replaced the clock with his own name. Marty approaches the hotel. There's a Biff Tannen museum with a promo video showing Biff's ancestor Buford Mad Dog Tannen, Biff's rise to power, and his eventual marriage of Lorraine. Biff's thugs then grab Marty and knock him out. Interesting that they portray this as some kind of violation of his rights, as opposed to justified because of his curiosity or something. No one should know too much about Biff Tannen's history. Marty wakes up in bed with his mother taking care of him. He thinks it's all a dream, except no luck. He's in the penthouse suite and his mother has breast implants. Biff, now Marty's legal father, comes in to yell at Lorraine because Marty isn't supposed to be here. It is not a happy marriage. Biff is abusive and Lorraine drinks. She tries to stick up for herself, but Biff has such power that she isn't able to handle it, especially when he threatens her kids. Marty tries to protect her but can't because of Biff's thugs. That one guy now wearing fancy 3D glasses. Zemeckis and Gale imagined that Lorraine would eventually shoot Biff, thus creating the wound that hurts old Biff before he's erased from existence. From a feminist perspective, this portrayal is okay. It's treated like an actual abusive relationship, and we accept Lorraine's breast implants as part of her bad treatment, instead of making her sexy to the audience. She doesn't do very much, but it's decent enough for what it is. I actually like watching this scene because I get the sense that the actors all like each other, and despite the content, are just having fun doing the scene together.
Hey, what's Michael J. Fox like? He's nice. What's Michael J. Fox like? Nice guy. What's Michael J. Fox like? He's an alien. Stop asking me the question.
Marty wants to know where George is, and it's the cemetery. Marty goes to track down his father's grave, and Doc finds him and takes him back to the lab for exposition. George was murdered. Biff is in power, and Doc was institutionalized, presumably because he went around knocking people out for being curious. Doc found the almanac bag and the top of Biff's cane in the car, and he figured out what happened. Marty realizes that it's all his fault, even though it's really all Biff's fault. Yeah, Marty got greedy, but it's not like he really wanted to hurt anyone. Isn't the whole time travel idea a selfish fantasy? Blaming the victim much? Anyway, they have to fix the world. They can't go into the future because it will be the future of Hell Valley, not the future they came from, even though they had to have been in the future to cause the changes that caused Hell Valley. Figure that one out.
If future Biff goes back to 2015 right after he gives young Biff the almanac, he could get back to the 2015 with Marty and Doc in it, because it wasn't until his 21st birthday that 1955 Biff placed his first bet.
Yeah, but he had Will haven't placed it.
The only way to save the world is to travel back to when young Biff acquired the almanac and stop him from using it. They don't know how, where, and when this happened, and the best way to find out seems to be for Marty to ask him. Biff is enjoying a hot tub with two beautiful women while watching A Fistful of Dollars. Wait, does that make this hot tub time machine? The two women are just decorations. They're there to show that Biff is sleazy, and they don't have any character to them. Marty comes in with a macho challenge to Biff's dominance, and the women just demurely cover themselves while the two men talk. They are just there for atmosphere. Biff is about to throw Marty out, but Marty names the book, and Biff knows that it's time for serious business. He takes Marty to his desk and tells him the story of how he got it. It was November 12th, 1955, day of the lightning storm, and also the day that Biff lost his standing when George punched him. An old man claiming to be a relative gave him the book, explaining how to use it to get rich. Biff gets the almanac out of a safe to show him, and Marty pockets a hotel matchbook. Biff then explains that the old man told him to kill whoever comes asking about the almanac.
You better run, squirrel!
The chase leads up to the roof. Biff corners him and admits that he shot George. Marty pretends to jump to his death, but he really escapes on the flying DeLorean. Doc knocks Biff out with his gull-wing door before he can ask any questions about his own destiny. Marty fills Doc in, and Doc engages the time circuits, noting a bug in setting the destination time. I'm sure that won't be relevant later. Marty is surprised that they're immediately going back in time.
Doc, what about Jennifer? What about Einstein? We can't just leave him here.
Amazing. He mentions Jennifer and Einstein in the same breath. Apparently they have roughly the same level of importance. Doc explains that once they fix the timeline, the world will change around them, and they'll be fine. Never mind that they're leaving Jennifer out in the open, unconscious, in Hell Valley. I mean, there's ignorance, and then there's just not caring. It was well established that Hell Valley is not a nice place to live, with gang violence and corrupt police everywhere. For all I know, Strickland would rape her. Zemeckis and Gale just don't care about Jennifer as a character at all. They didn't even bother to think this through. Marty and Doc go back to 1955, landing behind the Line Estates billboard. Doc will try to fix the time circuit. He gives Marty local money, no clue how he got it, and tells him to get contemporary clothes and tail young Biff. Once old Biff gives him the almanac and goes back to 2015, Marty needs to steal the almanac from young Biff. Their mission is complicated by the fact that they would be rubbing shoulders with their past selves from the first movie, and need to ensure that past Doc and past Marty are not disrupted. Marty finds Biff's house. He lives with his grandmother, Gertrude Tannen. Though we never see her, the woman sounds perfectly obnoxious, and Biff is rude to her. Given the Tannens just being a perpetually evil family, I'm fine with that portrayal. Marty follows him as he bullies some kids, and walks into Hill Valley to pick up his car after the manure incident. Old Biff spies on him as well. Marty sneaks into the back seat and covers himself with a blanket. Young Biff tosses cans in the back, and they hit Marty in the groin because, the filmmakers like abusing Michael J. Fox's testicles. I don't know. Before getting in the car, young Biff sees Lorraine across the street and goes to sexually harass her. We've already seen Biff try to rape her and have an abusive relationship with her in the future, and this shows him doing a smaller version of that. We can see the monster that he could become later in life. Notably, Lorraine is able to fight him off and run, to a lesser degree fulfilling the role that George will take in punching him. She doesn't have enough power to take Biff on her own, but she isn't just a victim. This may have intended to be a reference to her eventually shooting him. Biff returns to the car to find his older self in the driver's seat, and then they promptly pass out. What? No? Well then, the universe must be destroyed! No? Old Biff orders him into the car and drives him home. In the garage, Old Biff proves that the book works and hands it over. They then make like a pair of trees and get out of there. Marty finds himself locked in and radios Doc to come and help him. Before Doc gets there via bicycle, Biff comes back to go to the dance, and Marty gets into the car. Doc goes to look for him and ends up in the courtyard. He can't help but check out the past DeLorean, and he ends up causing a paradox. Get it? Paradox? Doc carefully navigates the obstacle, never quite looking into his counterpart's eyes, and he leaves. Biff goes to the dance. Marty follows him. Biff looks at what passes for porn in the 50s. Off-screen, Biff puts the almanac dust jacket on the porn book, and Strickland confiscates it. Marty spends some time on this red herring before realizing that it's not what he's after. George punches out Biff, and Marty steals the book from him. Some guy thinks that Marty stole his wallet, and he helpfully tells Biff where he went when he wakes up. Marty runs into Biff's gang after they ran away from the Starlighters, and they chase him. Marty ducks them, but then they see past Marty on stage and go to attack him, forcing our Marty to creatively take them out. Funny how Doc and Marty get all of this really fun paradox dodging, really tied into the plot, and Jennifer just gets to wander around a house. Marty almost gets away cleanly, but then Biff calls him a chicken. Biff takes the book back, kicks him when he's down, and heads off. Hey kid, do us a favor and shoot the old man. What? You can't be serious. Doc's my friend. There's no way I could do anything to hurt him. What's the matter? Chicken? Sorry, Doc, but some things are just more important than friendship. Doc takes the DeLorean into the air and crashes into the billboard, resetting the time circuits to 1885, and getting the cord with flags on it caught on a wheel. Marty meets him on the roof to explain what happened as Doc gathers up the flag cord. Doc flies him behind Biff's car, and Marty uses the hoverboard to ride behind the car. At this point, even if it is pink, it's just awesome. Marty gets the almanac and races to get out of the tunnel before Biff runs him over. Doc drops the flag cord and yanks him out of danger at the last second. Biff stares at this and ends up crashing into the same manure truck. Doc takes Marty back to the billboard as the thunderstorm starts up. Marty puts the almanac in a pail and lights it on fire with the matchbook. As it burns, the matchbook changes from advertising the casino hotel to the auto detailing service. The newspapers change too. The day has been saved. Then lightning strikes the DeLorean, and it vanishes in a flash of light. Marty can't contact him, and the singed flag cord falls to earth. Before Marty can cry over Doc's apparent death, a sinister-looking figure pulls up and questions if he's Marty McFly. Marty confirms this, and he reveals that he's with Western Union and has a letter for him, given to the company 70 years ago, with very specific instructions on its delivery. This method of communication across time periods by estranged time travelers is cliché at this point, but Back to the Future did it, if not first, early, and it is very clever. Doc explains that he is living in the year 1885. Marty is delighted that his friend can potentially be saved, and he goes to find the one man who can help him. 1955 Doc. 1955 Doc has just seen his Marty go back to the future. He does a happy dance, looks around at his accomplishment, and then another Marty shows up behind him. He freaks out and faints. That at least means that Jennifer's fainting isn't such a female cliché. Fainting is apparently a common response to freaky time travel circumstances. And so concludes Back to the Future Part 2. I like this film, but man does it have problems. It's kind of a macho mess, with guys trying to outman each other, and women relegated to the background and sexualized. Jennifer is just not used well at all. It's clear that the creators hated her as an active character, as opposed to simply being Marty's love interest and motivation. The only thing that keeps the sequels from being a misogynistic mess is the treatment of Clara in Part 3, but that will have to wait for another time.